How scandalous is this? The Virgin Mary showing one breast and apparently not to breastfeed baby Jesus, but plainly showing it to the viewer. These two panels were painted around 1456 by the French court painter Jean Fouquet. The scene on the left is an earthly one, while the one on the right is a heavenly one, and in this video we'll analyze all the details. As was typical for these devotional works at that time, the commissioner of the work has been included, just as we saw in last week's video about the Melun Diptych by Robert Campin. In this case, the donor is named Etienne Chevalier, the man kneeling in prayer on the left. He was the royal treasurer of the French king, and he had an excellent and trustworthy reputation. At this time, Chevalier is around 56 years old, and he is dressed in a trendy, fur-lined robe with a crimson-brownish color. If you look carefully at the inscription on the wall behind him, you can identify the letters E, S, T, a small I, E, N, and one or two more letters. This spells the name Estienne, which is the old way of spelling the donor's name, Etienne. And on the left we see the letters I-E-R, probably the last letters of his surname Chevalier. Located next to the door inside a luxurious Renaissance-style palace is a saint dressed in a dark blue robe of a deacon, adorned with a golden braid. Notice how this saint stands taller than the donor and how his robe is much more radiant, indicating his more important role in this scene. We can identify him by looking at his attributes. He is holding a red and gold Bible, probably from the donor's personal library, and you can see a little white bookmark in the middle. On top of the Bible is a large stone. This helps us to identify him as Saint Stephen, as he was stoned to death, and you can see the blood streaming from the top of his head, which made him a martyr. Saint Stephen was the first saint in Catholicism. Interestingly, Saint Stephen is called Saint Etienne in French, which is the same name as the donor on the left. And if you are interested in how to identify various saints by their attributes, I've made an earlier video on this channel diving into that topic. Anyway, Saint Stephen's role is to plead with Mary for the good graces of the donor, and apparently the saint is successful as Jesus is seen pointing in their direction, indicating that their prayer has been heard. The right panel is the most intriguing one of the two, showing the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus on her lap. And of course, it immediately catches her eye that she has one breast exposed. Mary is seated on an elaborately decorated throne. The throne is carried by red and blue angels, and this is a typical case of showing Mary as the Queen of Heaven. And notice how white the skin of Mary and Jesus is. It is quite likely that the combination of the strong blue, white and red in this panel are a reference to the colors used by the French king, who was the employer of the donor, and nowadays the blue, white and red still make up the French flag. Mary and Jesus are painted as stylized figures with their white skin and artificial body parts. But at the same time, many see Mary here as a pretty attractive lady with an hourglass figure and large round breasts. Mary wears a blue dress with a white mantle on top and a crown adorned with many jewels. The way to make sense of her artificial appearance is that she is the bridge between earthly people and heaven. So she is part human, part ethereal. And this contrast between earthly and heavenly figures becomes even more clear when we see how the earthly people on the left are depicted compared to the more heavenly ones on the right. But why does she show one breast? There is a common theme in art history known as Madonna lactans, showing the Virgin Mary breastfeeding baby Jesus. This theme was also known as Madonna del Latte, or Madonna of the Milk, and was reasonably common between the 13th and early 16th centuries, as you can see in some of the examples here. However, as mentioned in the beginning of this video, in this case it does not appear to be directly related to her breastfeeding Jesus, as Jesus is clearly not focused on her or the breast milk. The idea here is that the naked breast symbolizes Mary's role as a mediator between earthly people and God's judgment. Compare it to Jesus showing his wounds from the crucifixion as a symbol of his sacrifice for mankind, as in this painting by Caravaggio. Just like that, the breast of Mary is a symbol of Mary feeding and raising Jesus, who would eventually save the world. Mary and Jesus are surrounded by small angels known as cherubim. And if you look at the faces of the angels, they pretty much resemble the face of Jesus, especially when we compare the face of Jesus with the angel to his right. If you want to learn more about the intriguing story of why the cherubim looks like a small, plump, winged boy, I have another video on this channel discussing the appearance of the various angels. There have been quite some speculations about the identity of the model posing as Mary here. Some have suggested that it was the wife of the commissioner, as the painting was meant to hang above her tomb initially. But more people believe that Mary is modeled after the mistress of the French King Charles VII, and that her name is Agnès Sorel, who was considered the most beautiful woman in the world at that time. The commissioner of this work was the executor of her will when she died, and according to some rumors, their relationship may have gone a bit further than just a platonic one. Enfin, while I have discussed these two panels as a pair until now, they are actually not together today. The panel on the left is in Berlin and the right panel is in Antwerp. Despite their separation, it was suspected for many years that the panels originally belonged together, but only recently real proof was given. Dendrochronological research into the wood used for both panels showed that the panels actually came from exactly the same oak tree, which was cut in the year 1446. For many years though, the panels did hang together above the tomb of the commissioner and his wife, which was located in the Notre Dame in his birthplace Melun, some 25 miles or 40 kilometers south of Paris. The diptych was supposed to stay there forever to remember the commissioner, and every morning at 6 the Eucharist was held to commemorate Etienne Chevalier. But when in 1775 the church where the grave was needed money for restoration, they did not honor the wish of the commissioner and sold the diptych to two different buyers, separating both panels until today, except for 3 special exhibitions where both panels were temporarily reunited. Finally, some people have suggested that this was not originally a diptych with 2 panels, but that there may have been an additional panel on the right side showing the wife of the commissioner with a saint looking in at the same scene. However, any real evidence on this is lacking, and I personally don't believe this is the case, as Jesus is clearly pointing in one direction with his finger. Well, I hope you enjoyed the discussion of this intriguing diptych. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget to click the notification bell to be alerted when new videos on this channel appear. Thanks for watching.